Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan. All right, so we're recording this podcast on a Saturday. We are still in Indianapolis on the Combine. This thing's going to drop Monday morning when most people will be listening to it. So, Adam, it's kind of the tail end of the Combine, and this is what I alluded to as our Empty the Notebook style podcast, where we're going to go through everything we've learned, every sense we're getting, every vibe, everything we've gathered.
Everything we've heard, yeah.
Yeah, everything we've heard over the past few days here in Indianapolis. You've been here almost, I think, the entire week.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to just get 2 days, and I'm ready to go. But it's been a great time. I think before we start talking about like players, positions, things we've heard in that regard, I think there's an overriding theme that we can introduce this by, and that's saying that the Eagles have a ton of holes as a team, right? They could use 2 corners. They could use 2 wide receivers. They could use 2 safeties. So they're in a weird position where they obviously have to replenish and get younger, right? We've been talking about that. But if they want to be competitive, which they do, we talked about that in our last podcast, Howie wants to win, they still have to spend some money to bring in some guys to help them in 2020 that aren't just going to be rookies and unsigned free agents. So they're in a position that, and I think you and I suspect that for the first time in a while, that Howie's going to have to really go out there and look at the free agent market and do something. And, of course, that leads us into, what you've been saying about Byron Jones.
Yeah, so, Geoff, they always go into free agency, but they've not hammered it, really hard. So I know where you're going here. So you want to start it on defense at corner?
Well, I think, because I was saying that kind of leads into the Byron Jones thing where you've already, put it out on our podcast a couple of times that there's interest there.
Yeah, Geoff, right. They're going to be the first team up when they're allowed to talk to the agents. His agents are Alan Herman and Jared Fox, sports stars. Jake Rosenberg and Howie Roseman are going to go. I mean, I don't know. The term is they'll be all in, whatever you want to call it. They're going to go. They're going to go for it, and I suspect this deal, particularly if there are other teams involved, and they're going to be. I expect there probably be.
We went through some teams. We thought maybe 4 or 5 teams might get in.
What happens is you might start with, when you're having what we call an A-level free agent, you might have 6 to 8 teams in. And then when the money goes down, when teams find out what he wants, because you really, all you really can do at this point, because you can't talk money and you can't tamper, you can only let them know that you can only let agents know, hey, when we're allowed to, we want to talk to you. And they can figure out who it is.
Right.
So, make a long story short, I would say that deal, when it comes in, could hit $17 million a year.
Now, people are getting excited about the idea that the Eagles may reel in the top cornerback on the market. Eagles fans, because they know how badly the Eagles need a corner. But at the end of the day, this is going to kind of go back into what Howie Roseman had been cautioning people about for the last 3 years in free agency. Byron Jones is a good cornerback. There's no doubt about it. I'm not sure he's ever made a Pro Bowl. He's just he's a good, solid corner who's so much better than what the Eagles already have. But this is, to be honest with you, this is not an enviable position for the Eagles to have to pay $17 million for a guy who's just a good corner. But that's what happens when you don't hit on all your picks.
He's a very solid football player. Yeah. You and I had the pleasure of talking to an AFC personnel director this week. And as you know, Geoff, I asked him, I just went right to it. I said, hey, let me ask you a question. I'm sure for free agency, you've graded the corners that are out there, and I asked him about James Bradberry,
right,
and Byron Jones, and he said that Bradberry's a little bit taller. He said Bradberry could play off corner, he could play press. They've done both in Carolina, but he said the difference between Byron Jones and James Bradberry is Byron Jones has better versatility.
Right.
Byron played safety earlier in his career. He played slot corner, which he still does. Right. When they need him to, and he covers tight ends. And I said, "Who do you like better?" He goes, clearly Byron Jones is a better football player.
All right.
And I said to him, "Where would you rank him?" He goes, "He's a top corner available for free agency."
Yeah.
He said he's a really good football player. And I asked him but I said the knock on this guy, he doesn't get a lot of turnovers. He goes, "You know what? That's something you could work on. It may never be 5 or 6, 7, 8 interceptions, but he says it's something that you would be stressing for tackling the football, using your hands and stuff like that." So
right.
To rank them, obviously Byron Jones would be 1, Bradberry would be 2, Then after that, Trey Waynes, and we talk about Logan Ryan as a slot corner. But for the Eagles' purposes, it's Byron Jones.
So just because of the names that you just mentioned there, and it's not a great cornerback class, and obviously when you draft a guy, you don't know how quickly he'll develop. It does feel like the Eagles are going to have to sell out here. They're going to have to go against what they've said for the last few years because they need a guy this badly. And I don't want to shortchange Byron Jones. I said I don't think he's made a Pro Bowl. He has made one Pro Bowl.
Oh, he has, okay.
But just think about the idea that his APY by the end of his contract will probably be more than Stephon Gilmore, who's the reigning Defensive Player of the Year.
By the
and
way,
this guy's made one Pro Bowl.
It's Tony Romo money.
Yeah.
$17 million a year.
Tony just reset the market on people who talk football.
You know, it's funny. I ran the corner numbers around the league with some contract negotiators, and the guys that I saw here, they seem to agree it's probably going to be $17 million.
Yeah.
We'll see. You know, until you can't talk money yet, so we'll find out. But that's where I'm kind of seeing the free agent market for the Eagles, particularly corner with Byron Jones.
Is there a team? All right. Before I ask this question, you and I generally know that Howie is the type of guy that if he wants a guy, he'll figure out a way to get a guy. But you can only control as much as you control. We went through teams like the Jets, the Raiders, the Broncos, I believe, teams that have money to spend and need a corner and want to be competitive. So in your mind, is there a team or do you think that there's a way that if the Eagles really want Jones, they could still lose him? Like, do you think they're going to play up until the very last dollar?
I believe that they will. Howie rarely loses.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to people, teams that have bid against him, it's hard to beat him. Contract structure, he's very clever. He and Jake Rosenberg and Bryce Johnson said his name.
Yeah,
you might remember Bryce. He's involved as well. They'll craft it where they'll win.
Mm-hmm.
It's something they have to do. They just have to get it right. They really, you and I have talked about since we've been doing the show for over a year. It's the one position they've just not gotten right.
Right.
They've had some upside. Devontae Maddox looks like he's going to be a pretty good slot corner.
Right.
Crayvon LeBlanc's been a good story as a backup slot, but it's City. We wouldn't be talking about this if City Jones had been a really good football player.
Absolutely.
There's no need to pay that kind of money. But
that's what I want our listeners to really understand here is that you might be excited about Byron Jones, but you should understand that the Eagles come at this from a position of vulnerability. And that's never an ideal position you want to be in when you're hitting free agency.
But the bottom line is, as long as they get Jones, who they think he is, you've locked up for next. I don't know if they would do. Typically, these deals now are not more than 4 years. But let's say it's 4 years. So he's your number one corner for 4 years. Maddox is your slot corner. Mm-hmm. They've got to find another number two corner on the outside. They don't have that guy.
Right.
To me, that should come in the draft.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we move on to the next position that we're going to talk about, I did speak to a team source just on the idea of Byron coming over from the Cowboy. Just his character funny. Is what I asked about.
Yeah.
And I mentioned what happened with the Scandrick mess, and I mentioned, DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
I got the sense that they're not as concerned about that kind of element here. That Byron's like a straight up guy,
military family,
guy. Yeah.
Great kid. I met him at ESPN in 2015.
Right.
What a nice kid. And you know what I love about him? As you know, Geoff, and that he set all sorts of combine records.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not a guy, I'll be honest with you, that had a lot of buzz with personnel people before that combine.
Right.
And this is one of those times where guys went back and watched the tape. The great thing is, he was taken the first round, but his athletic numbers actually backed up who he became, a very solid football player. And that's, as you said, to close this out here,
mm-hmm.
when it's unrestricted free agency, you're going to have to overpay. If you want somebody and you want to win and make sure no one else gets them, you're going to have to go balls to the wall.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, to me, I think we'll see what happens when they actually can negotiate. Another team's can negotiate, but I think it's going to hit $17 million.
Right.
Season.
Well, we'll see. That's a pro. Hey, listen, the winner in all this is going to be Byron Jones, no matter where he lands, and he's going to be going to the bank a happy man.
He'll be first in line. Trust me on that one.
Absolutely. Real quick, before we move into the next one, I forgot to mention in the opener, InsideTheBirds.com has now been launched. By the time you're listening to this, you can go to your computer browser, type it in, whether you got Safari or Google or whatever you're using, AOL. InsideTheBirds.com has been launched. So we've got some great content up there, I think. Adam's got a story. I've got a story. Got some contributors all about free agency, draft picks, things like that. We're going to be covering the Eagles. Oh, and you have a lot of stuff on NFL goings on as well.
Yeah, you'll see my notes on several teams, so it's not just Eagles, but
right.
Just the thought process, my ideas of why they're doing certain things, and scouting reports. We're going to start getting college draft scouting reports from coaches and executives who I know.
Uh-huh.
I've got one coming. I'm going to put it up on Monday or Tuesday. It's from Memphis football source on Antonio Gibson, I think. Is
the running back from Memphis.
Yeah, he's a
he had
hybrid
great
player.
combine.
So I got some great stuff there.
Right.
So you're going to have stuff you're not seeing anywhere, and this is why we're doing this website. Cannot wait. Really can't.
Absolutely. So please check it out, InsideTheBirds.com, and let us know what you think. It's an interactive website. There'll be areas if you scroll through the website to reach out to us, subscribe to a newsletter, or just hit us up with an ITB is now available. You can just send us the question through the website if you prefer, and we really look forward to your feedback on that. Let's move on to wide receiver, because outside of cornerback, wide receiver is the other area where you look at the Eagles and say they've been the most deficient and they need an upgrade. We'll have to see what happens with Alshon Jeffrey. I think we know Nelson Aguilar is gone. Greg Ward was a nice story, but I don't know that you go into the year with him as your guy.
Yeah, he'll
speak.
He'll compete for the slot receiver position.
Right.
So right now, under contract, you got Jeffrey, of guys who could actually compete for a roster spot.
Right.
Alshon Jeffrey, who nothing's been decided whether it be on the football team. This is just an opinion. I don't think he'll contribute to the team this season. I really don't.
Alshon.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't know when he's going to be back. This is just an opinion. We don't know exactly when he'll be ready.
And by the way, certainly the buzz, I would say, around the combine when you speak to other teams is they kind of believe what's out there about the Eagles wanting to distance themselves from Alshon if they get a chance.
We don't. Nothing's been decided.
Nothing.
It's just a feeling you get. Jeff's absolutely right. When you talk to people about the Eagles receivers position, they talk about Jeffrey. No one seems to think he's going to be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
When I say no one, I didn't poll 50 people.
It's a buzz thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's just we'll see. But I don't see him contributing. We don't know when he'll be back. And I love what Howie Roseman said. He got asked about Alshon Jeffrey at the press briefing. All he said was, Alshon just needs to get healthy as soon as possible.
Right.
Okay, so we'll see.
So we can bounce him off the roster.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I thought it was an interesting comment. So right now you got Alshon and Deshaun are under contract. Deshaun's got over $6 million fully guaranteed coming to him. He's not going anywhere.
Right.
And Greg Ward's the slot receiver. I'm not counting the Mark and Michelle's of the world, Deontay Burnett. Oh, Arcega-Whiteside's under contract. Jeff, he's got to work his way into the picture. Yes, he'll be on the roster.
Yes.
He's got to earn a role here. They just can't. They're not going to hand it to him.
So he's an interesting case, right? Because we've asked around specifically about him, and So if you talk to 10 or 11 personnel evaluators about that draft last year, and you specifically ask about J-Jaw, 5 or 6 are going to say, yeah, we had him in the 4th round. We like he's like a power forward type of wide receiver. He makes contested catches. And 4 or 5 are going to say, yeah, we had him kind of in that 2nd round range. It's almost like what you were looking for at wide receiver at that time.
So that guy you're talking about, so we talked to this personnel guy, very high-ranking AFC personnel guy.
But just to be real quick, a couple of, like I said, I probably asked about 8, 9, 10 guys on him and got that same mix.
When we saw this guy, I said, hey, where did your team have him? He goes, no, we had a 2 on him, but he goes, here's the problem. He's only 6'2".
Right.
He's not 6'4".
Right.
Jeffrey's a little bit taller, by the way.
Yeah.
He's not fast. He wasn't long. Didn't have particularly long arms. He just said he doesn't get great separation, but he won so many battles with contested catches.
Right.
We're not even to the point with Arcega-Whiteside where he can even do that because he had to play because everyone else got hurt.
Right.
He's on the outside looking and contributing. He'll be on the team, but he's got to show that he can contribute. Right now, they just don't know. So that position, Jeff, right now is a major question mark.
Right.
We'll have names for our listeners of who we're hearing. They've eyed. Speaking of, because I know there have been a lot of rumors on Demarcus Robinson. I'm just getting mild interest.
Same here.
Yeah,
it's not what I expected because they've showed interest in him in the past. Now things can change, but it fits in line, Adam, with what we were saying. When you ask around and you try to get a sense of what the Eagles are really looking for, the answer is pretty easy. It comes back all the time. Speed, right? Guys who can get down the field. And DeMarcus is a good wide receiver, but he's not necessarily the speed wide
He's
receiver.
a possession receiver.
Yeah.
He's a run after the catch guy. Yeah. So
now they could use him and a speed receiver
Yeah.
because they could use two guys, but their priority is speed.
Talking to Chiefs sources, Geoff, I mean, multiple guys tell me he's come a long way. You know, he's very mature when he first got there. He's grown up. Really likes playing on special teams.
Yep.
At best, he's a 3.
Right.
He's an outside receiver. He's physical. He's 6'1 plus, a little bit over 6'1.
Yeah.
But he's a backup receiver, and he could be a pretty good backup for them.
Yeah.
But you're talking about
maybe
signing.
number 3.
You're
Depth signing. I agree. Unfortunately, on this team right now, Adam, if you look at the Eagles, and if you brought DeMarcus Robinson in, and only DeMarcus Robinson, he'd be one of their top 2 receivers right now.
But they're not going to start the season like that.
So the biggest question asking around when you say, well, what can the Eagles do a wide receiver? The answer is usually like, well, what can they do? Because it's not a great market. So you've got Amari Cooper, who may not even make it, and the Eagles are not getting Amari Cooper. So we can just dismiss that right away. And then after Amari Cooper, you get 31-year-old, or is it 32-year-old Emmanuel Sanders?
Turns 33.
Yeah, you can't stand in front of the microphone and talk about getting younger, which is something we'll address a little later on the podcast.
The only way you sign Emmanuel Sanders.
If you have no options left?
No.
Oh.
You sign him if you're going to draft a receiver high in the first round.
Right.
You're going to add probably another receiver where he plays. He's a rotational player. He probably doesn't start. He might be your 3. He'd be a grade 3. This is a 1-year situation.
But he's probably going to do better than 1 year on the market.
Yeah. Todd France's agent will be looking for.
So that's why I don't see it happening with the Eagles.
Yeah, good guy. Well, one of my favorite players. He turns 33 next month. Technically, not next month, in March.
Great guy.
We're in March now. So.
Yeah, and if he was 28, this would be an awesome second option alternative to Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
but
it's too bad.
So the only name that is obvious and has been out there for a while, and we'll see, it would be Robbie Anderson.
All right, so I'm told that the Jets do have interest in bringing him back, but they're going to let him test free agency.
Okay.
What is, Geoff, and this is the issue with Robbie Anderson. Very talented, speed receiver. He's averaged about 17 yards a catch. The problem is he's had injury history. He's not real big. He's not real physical. He's a little bit taller than Deshaun Jackson. But when it comes to speed guys, he's one of the best guys.
Right.
So you have to make a decision when you're evaluating him, what's his market? The Eagles, we know on multiple occasions over the last 3 years, they wanted him, and they were told he wasn't available. So, I'm sorry, he averaged about 15 yards per catch, not 17. But
still pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah. I mean, he's a number 2 receiver, not a number 1.
Right.
And he's a deep threat. Now, the question would be, if you're the Eagles and you feel pretty confident in this draft, you're going to come out with a speed receiver. It's going to be a number 1. Are you going to pay him $10 million, $12 million a year? That's a lot. To me, that's just a lot to pay for a guy who's had some injuries in his career. Now, the good thing, last season he found a way to play 16 games. 17 and 16 he played 16 games. 2 years ago he missed 2 games, but he's had lower body injuries. Ankle, a couple other things. We know there was an off-the-field issue. You just have to be careful about paying him. But I'll say this, the guy could play.
Right. He can play. He can stretch the field. I feel like it's the same issue you see with Byron Jones, though. He's going to get paid better than what he's worth, and you're probably going to have a lot of teams in on it because everybody needs a speed receiver. So could the Eagles come out with Robbie Anderson? Maybe. Is it likely? That one I don't see.
And then you've got Brashad Perriman, who's my favorite player for free agency.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit.
And he's bigger physically. He's 6'2", son of the great Brett Perriman. He's going to cost, I believe, around $10 million a year.
Oh, Brett Perriman's great now, huh? A couple 1,000-yard seasons.
You might remember him for Detroit.
Yeah, him and Johnny
Run
Morton.
And shoot. Yeah, that's right. And that's it. I mean, Paul Richardson's out there.
And Herman Moore, by the way.
Herman Moore, number 84. Yeah, I'm telling Paul Richardson that they're not interested right now. He's got some interest out there. Philip, their second run. But you know what? He never got the job done for New England.
These are just guys.
So
I mean,
they're
nice, but
they're drafting 2 receivers.
Right.
One in the first round, unless every guy they want is gone.
Right.
Henry Ruggs, Geoff, get to the draft quickly here.
Yeah.
I think he goes top 10.
Wow. I will say that I've talked to a few people over the last day or two, and they said it would not shock them if Ruggs went ahead now of Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, my God, really?
Because, Jeudy Judy's kind of a little bit of an odd guy, you know. I mean, he had that press conference with the star David.
I thought it was hilarious, man.
It was funny, but some people
as
thought,
a Jewish guy, I thought it was funny.
I know. It's just, but that's not like he's a little quirky, is what I gather.
He's a player, man.
He's a great player, no doubt.
But you can teach speed. Ruggs, and by the way, Ruggs is not small.
No, he's not. He's 205 pounds.
Yeah,
he's not.
I think he's 6 feet even. So
yeah, he's not KJ Hamler.
No. He's at 5'8.5", 178. So that's it for the wide receiver position. We'll have
real quick though, I want to say I will classify this also as buzz. When you talk to people who are involved in the league and make educated guesses and know what the Eagles do, there is a buzz, a sense from others that people think the Eagles will be aggressive to try to move up to get Ruggs if they can.
Well, here's the thing, though.
If he goes top 5, then we're
I did a quick mock draft. The first Miami is probably going to go quarterback. If they do, there should be the first receiver probably won't go off till 7.
Right.
To Carolina. Mm-hmm. Although Curtis Samuel's pretty good. They don't have to draft one.
Yeah, DJ Moore is fairly good.
Yeah, DJ Moore is really good. Yeah. So the Chargers aren't going to do anything at 9. I mean, theoretically, the early teens Ruggs could go. That's a lot to give up. I would do it. Because the people I trust are just gaga over this guy.
Yeah,
around the league.
I agree. Same here.
I would do it, but you have to decide, are you going to give up a lot to hurt your draft? So it's
right.
But you know what? You got to help the quarterback, and that to me is the mantra of their offseason.
Right.
So what other positions do we want to hit?
Let's go into first, let me just pause and thank one of our affiliates, PHLSportsNation.com, doing a great job. They've been enhancing the fan experience with their coverage of the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, of course. They've got great content, so make sure you head over to their website, PHLSportsNation.com, and check out all the great work that they do, and we thank them for being great affiliates with us. Second, you want to...
one thing about Robbie Anderson, which Jet Source pointed out to me, because you have to understand that the last couple of years, their line has been so bad.
Yeah.
And you're playing with a young quarterback who's learning a new system. If they're in a much more developed offense where he had help around him, Anderson would be a 70 to 75 catch a year guy. Well, the last 2 seasons, he only has 102, which is 51 per season.
Mm-hmm.
They just have not been able to protect the quarterback very well. And the Jets are going to significantly improve their offensive line. And Darnold closed the season well when they won 6 out of 8. Anderson was a part of that.
Right.
Now, I will also tell you, and this is something that a lot of people around the league know. Robbie Anderson was on a contract drive.
Uh-huh.
And he had a huge close to the season with big plays.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, when you look at wide receivers and you want speed, he's the guy. You look at weeks 13, 14, 15, 17 for 101, 7 for 117 and 1, 4 for 66. And the next week he had a touchdown. Contract drive.
Right. Now, you know what? This is a good time to bring up now, when we speak about Byron and Robbie and the type of contracts we're going to get, to bring up a scouting philosophy or a general manager philosophy I heard a lot, and that's when you're dealing with free agents, you expect that you're going to have to pay 15% more than what they're actually worth. And you also expect that you're going to get 15% less production than they just gave you, because if you go through statistics and analyze them, it's very rare a guy has a breakout year and then has a better year after. You've got the elite who are consistent, but neither of the two guys who we're talking about are considered elite.
And remember, receivers have to learn a new system with another quarterback they've never worked with.
Corners too.
Yeah, and that's why you'd rather go and just draft a couple guys and let them run for your system.
Right.
But the Eagles have urgency when it comes to helping Carson Wentz. So that's the receiver outlook for right now.
All right, let's get into safety, because that's probably right up there with corner and receiver as an area of deficiency right now for the Eagles. We've talked about, you have Malcolm Jenkins, who's kind of in a contract limbo with the Eagles, and then after that, he is under contract. But I'm sorry, in whether he wants to play under that contract limbo.
Yes.
And then after that, under contract technically is only Marcus Epps and Rudy Ford.
Rudy Ford's coming off of surgery.
Rudy Ford's coming off surgery. So
all right. I got a surprise here. So I had said when we talked to Rodney McLeod, it was totally an opinion. I was not based on reporting. But latest, when I said I don't think Rodney McLeod's coming back, only because I was taking the Eagles at their word. Howie Roseman, what he'd said publicly, that he wanted to get younger, because Malcolm Jenkins, at 32 years old, you need to eventually replace him. You got to look at him as a 1-year solution, and then the other safety, you would want to go younger. So I just, people were quoting me, and I appreciate it, about what they had said on our show, put it on Twitter, but it was just an opinion. I'm just taking what their offseason is supposed to be about, getting younger. Well, here's what I do know. The Eagles want Rodney McLeod back.
Wow.
I was surprised when I heard that. It was one of those, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
So I checked into it. You had said on our show, God, maybe a month ago, that, and I didn't agree with you on this. We were debating this, but we couldn't take 5 minutes on it. So I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree with you. But you were like, listen.
Truth comes out now.
Right, right. I get what you said about Malcolm Jenkins. Bring him back. Go draft someone in back of him. My point was, just go younger. Go younger. So I think what they're going to do, now, by the way, it doesn't mean Roddy's coming back because it's free agency. He's going to have other options.
Right.
And I'm sure the Eagles will look at everything that's out there. But when you look at Rodney's situation, he's been another really good free agent for Howie Roseman. When Howie came out of his purgatory.
Look, that was the Brandon Brooks and Rodney McLeod was the 2016 free agent class. They were both home runs.
Rodney's a great guy.
Very good guy, yeah.
Does turn 30 in June. It is almost unheard of for a team to have 2 30-year-old safeties, starters.
Yes.
So to me, if you're bringing Rodney McLeod back, and obviously Malcolm's under contract, we'll see how many draft picks they have. But if they have 10, and maybe there's some undervalued guy they see in free agency we're not talking about, but you're drafting a minimum of 1. You got to add 2 for free agency of the draft. How do you not?
I don't know. I think I've been saying it for years, actually. I think that they've neglected safety high in the draft for far too long.
Yeah, so to sum this up.
Far too long.
Yes, I agree. They've tried, but they haven't gotten the right guy. But you're right. They haven't gotten him.
Right.
So to sum this up, they'd like to have him back. It doesn't mean he's going to come back. And I'm just telling you, this we know from my sourcing. Okay. They want him back.
Wow. You got to think that if they want him back, that they probably can make that happen. I mean, I don't know how big the market's going to be for a 30-year-old safety.
We're still over 2 weeks away. It doesn't start till March 18th. You can't negotiate. You can't negotiate with players from other teams until the 16th.
Right.
So we don't know who they like, but
it's also hard to say. And I think people are going to take what you're saying, Adam, and try to draw some correlation to, well, they're bringing Rodney back because Malcolm's definitely not going to be on the team.
No, good point. No,
I don't want to do it.
No. It's just.
They just don't have anybody.
They don't have anyone who's ready. Rudy Ford was a good special teams player. It's a great find for them by who he's incredibly fast.
Yeah, he is fast.
But no one's talking about him being a replacement as a starter.
Right.
There are a lot of journeyman type players out there. But I don't know. No, are they going to identify someone like Jimmy Ward? I'm told they're not on. He's going to cost a lot of money. Clayton Gathers is going to cost some money. Will Parks, who grew up in Philly,
right,
who plays with the Broncos. Trey Boston, you and I talked about before. Trey Boston, based on what's happened to his career, here's a one-year solution.
In this case, I'd just rather have a guy who's been here and knows the system.
Okay.
He hasn't had a rash of injuries. He had the one 2 years ago, but he came back fairly strong. I think you can rationalize it. I'm not happy. My disappointment with them, nothing can change. They just haven't drafted a guy in 10 years that can play the position. So they're not going to happen overnight. So I can understand bringing Rodney back. I thought he played decently last year.
It was okay. It was okay, but
he came up with I want to say, was it the interception in the end zone against Green Bay that sealed that game, or the pass breakup?
Well, the Craig James was the one who.
That was Craig James, but there was
he didn't get called for it.
There was a big play Rodney made at the end of one game this year.
Buffalo, I have no idea.
It might have been that.
I don't remember. But nevertheless, to move on here,
right?
They're open to bring him back. They like to bring him back, is what I'm told.
Cool,
but it doesn't mean that they will, because you have to see how the market develops. And we'll have some names,
right?
If he doesn't come back, who they might add. But so that's that one. At corner, Geoff.
Well, we thought corner with Byron Jones, right?
Yeah.
I want to pause real quick to get into before we get into some other positions, just to hear a word from our great sponsors. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. Adam Caplan and I love using Anchor for our Inside the Birds podcast every week. It's so user-friendly, anyone can create their own podcast, and you should too. Just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Anchor gives you everything you need to start your own podcast from your phone or computer. Its creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast for a professional sound, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so many other platforms. It can be heard by everyone, just like Inside the Birds. You can also make money from your pod with no minimum listenership. What are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to create your podcast today. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. Are you interested in money? Yep, I thought so. Well, on the Talk Money with Mesh Lakhani podcast, Mesh will follow paper trails, chat with experts, and break down complex ideas to bring clarity to the mystical financial phenomena and help listeners uncover the story behind their money. Each of these compelling stories will hit a broad range of subjects, ranging from buying Bitcoin, dealing with student debt, and everything in between. So if you're interested in money, and I know you are, check out the Talk Money with Mesh Lakhani podcast on Anchor. All right, let's stick on defense a little bit. We haven't really talked linebacker and defensive end, the front seven here.
Ah, yes, linebacker.
And we should never not talk about that because Jim Schwartz, no matter how deep or stagnant, there's always that want to get better on the front seven. Now, we said in our video the other day that Camus Grugier-Hill is gone.
Oh, yes.
He's going to be a free agent.
So Geoff had noted we did a YouTube video from Indianapolis, and Geoff had said that from what he's hearing, Camus Grugier-Hill will not be back.
Right.
So that opens up a whole. By the way, he was not under contract, but I mean, this is crazy. They only have 4 linebackers under contract, and the
murderers row over there.
2 are undrafted free agents. Alex Singleton came from the CFL. T.J. Edwards, who's a good story.
Yeah.
Who right now would be their Mike linebacker. Nate Gary, who would probably be either weak or strong side, probably weak side. Or Gary could play the middle, by the way, because he's done it. And then Duke Riley, who did a good job on special teams, who started early in his career with the Falcons. So they're going to have to dress the position. Now, my sense is, from being out in Indy, they're going to do something with free agency, what we call they call it second wave. It's sort of like the second level of free agency. They'll let it could be a Paul Warlow, by the way. Oh, speaking of him, he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with him was he had a minor issue after the ACL surgery.
Right.
You might remember when he was with the Eagles last year. He didn't look right.
No.
They wound up cutting him. Well, he had a irritation in that knee. It got cleaned up.
Nice.
He's fine.
Good.
He went with the Jets. I believe the Jets might want him back. With the Ravens, he had to take care of a personal issue, which was very minor. It was just a family thing. He's fine. He's going to go somewhere, compete for a backup middle linebacker job. I know he can play on the outside. But that's kind of the guys that you're looking at. The
someone who's going to get signed in late April, right?
Or you could sign in March.
March.
Right,
but
you could sign in March, but they may compete for a starting job. But I do not expect them. They're not going to be on Corey Littleton, Blake Martinez, Joe Schobert,
right,
Owasso. These guys are going to be well over $10 million a year. That's not what they do. There's really, we mentioned Kevin Pierre-Louis, Kwiatkowski, the linebacker. They're both from the Bears. Those would be the type of second-level free agents that would make a lot of sense for the Eagles. Stefan Anthony's a former first-round pick who's been a disappointment, who's got ability.
Right.
David Mayo is a middle linebacker.
Is Manti Te'o a free agent?
He's up there, yeah, who could play middle.
So there's going to be a million guys at all the same level,
right,
and the Eagles will find one of them and then cut him by week 7.
No, come on, let's be honest. No,
I know, I'm just messing.
But that's the kind of guy that they're looking at.
Right. I don't think a lot of people, Adam, have gone into this offseason. When I say people, I mean listeners, fans, thinking, man, the Eagles are really going to do something on the defensive line because of obviously their deficiencies at corner and safety. But I sensed opposite here in talking to some people that don't be surprised if they try to make some upgrades on the defensive line because, again, this is where when I asked why, and I go through all the names, the one thing I get back is it all starts up front. You know that with Jim Schwartz. And even if they have some pretty good names, they're always looking to upgrade or add to the
thing,
talent.
I've mentioned this the last couple shows, and I don't know that they're out there. Maybe it could come in the draft when I look at my free agent file. But they need speed at DM particularly. They just don't have it. The only guy, the guy they do have, but he didn't really do anything last year after the trade was Jannard Avery, and he's an all-season project for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
He's smaller. He's 6'1" barely, but he's incredibly quick twitch.
Right.
Quick twitch. He's going to have a chance to really be a factor, but I don't think that's going to stop them. If someone becomes available, most likely through the draft, but if someone became available in free agency that was cut or a team wanted to get rid of or just whatever, they wanted to move him.
Mm-hmm.
If the guy's a quick twitch, remember Andy Reid used to say he wanted to throw fastballs. That's what they're looking for.
Right.
But there's really no one. When I look at it, they're not. I don't see them being on a Clowney, and the Seahawks want him back badly.
Right.
Someone would have to become available. I just don't see it right now. But
right.
When we get to the draft, we'll talk more about it.
Right. But the Eagles are the type of team that if someone comes available, he's going to pick up the phone.
And he's going to be on it. Right. Great point. So
right.
and then defensive tackle, Geoff.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to add someone in free agency.
Yes,
Now,
which is not something I was thought going in. I thought maybe a low-level guy, but maybe it's more of a mid-level guy.
They need, and we had mentioned Bo Allen. Bo Allen would be an excellent third D tackle, but
Right.
I'm sure they'd like to go younger, Geoff. But you have to be careful. When you go younger, then the money goes up.
Right. Right.
Because a lot of these guys are going to be first-time free agents. And
who's the top DT on the market?
the top defensive tackle will be Chris Jones, who's not going to.
Well, I mean, realistically on the market.
Jaron Reed, no. The Seahawks, I'm told, want him back.
Right.
Oh no, DJ Reader, the Texans want him back. He's going to cost at least $10 million a year.
Hargrave from the Steelers is pretty good.
Javon Hargrave, I think it's going to cost him way too much.
Yeah.
He changed agents. He's got Drew Rosenhaus.
Right.
I'm looking at my names. David Onyemata, I love that kid. He is built like Anthony Rush. He's long. He's strong.
Yeah.
He's
from the Saints.
Yes,
yeah.
I would think that it costs too much money. He's strong as hell and he's long. He's built like who's the dude? The Bears D lineman who's long.
Akeem Hicks?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Sometimes the market for the guys isn't where they want it to be. But this is the kind of thing that we should, like what you're saying is discuss. Look at some D tackles, and if there's somebody out there who's good and who's young and but not necessarily a starter like of a Fletcher Cox level, maybe even a Bo Allen coming back, it shouldn't surprise anybody if the Eagles spend some money there.
Yeah, my understanding is
not a lot.
They have some interest in him, but
yeah.
He's a $3 million player. That's kind of the guy. I'm sure they're not going to want to spend more than $3 million on a D tackle. But the other one is draft, and we'll have names. They're gonna fortify because their two starters are 30 plus,
right.
30 or 30 plus.
Right.
They have to be careful. You can't go all young.
Right.
You have to have some veterans, but you got to have those guys who are ready to take over for those guys down the line, and it behoove them to take care of them in the draft.
All right, real quick, a running back. The Eagles are in a weird situation again. It's not something that's talked about a lot because Miles Sanders and Boston Scott kind of established themselves, but Jordan Howard is a free agent. He didn't have the kind of year that he or the team hoped he would have. I think.
But he was great until he got hurt.
Well, that's what I mean. Like getting hurt. What I meant by that was the Eagles wanted him to have a nice year, go off, sign a big contract, maybe get a comp pick, or maybe proofs that he's worth keeping on to, and unfortunately he got hurt. Yeah. So it feels like there's a little bit of limbo here with that.
The last I'd heard, they'd like to bring him back, but
right.
We'll see. I don't see Jordan Howard having any kind of market.
Right.
Considering he got hurt, it was unfortunate. He had the very bad stinger injury. Then Corey Clement is a restricted free agent. I get the sense that they're not going to tender him. Right. And the reason is, first of all, you're either going to tender him the low tender, or you're not going to tender him at all. The low, even the low tender, because if the new CBA gets done by the start of free agency, even the low tender could be like $275, $3 million, right, for 1 year. I don't see them paying him that with Corey's injury history. We know what he's capable of doing. Last year, both seasons ended on IR. I know, and that's too bad because they really could. Whether it's Howard or Clement, I mean, they could. You just can't go in with Miles Sanders. No, but what you could do, what you can do though, Geoff. I was talking to an agent who has a player, the Seahawks. He had an undrafted guy on another team. He goes. The team already told him they're not going to tender him, but they want to bring him back at a lower base salary. Well, you can do that with Corey. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that he's going to have Corey Clement. Had surgery for, I believe, it was either rotator cuff or labrum. Yeah. He had it in October. He's going to be good he's going to be able to participate in OTAs probably on a limited basis. Mm-hmm. But he'll be great for training camp. But, poor guy. It's just really good dude. Good story. Great job by scouting for the Eagles and finding him. But, he'll never be forgotten for what he did in the Super Bowl alone. Poor guy. Just can't stay healthy. So they're going to have to do something running back. You can't go in with the real deal, Elijah Holyfield. I mean, as your look, right now it's Miles Sanders as your starter. I don't care what they do with Jordan Howard. Miles Sanders is the guy. Right. Back. And a lot of people have asked us, what's his role going to be? He's going to be the feature back. Mm-hmm. If Jordan Howard's back, he'll be their backup. Boston Scott will be a change-up, maybe a little bit of third down. Mm-hmm. If Howard's not back, it's Sanders and Scott, and they're going to have to add somebody. Right. And even if Corey Clement's back, they got to have four guys with these injuries. Got to have four guys. All right, that pretty much wraps up everything we've heard, learned, or felt about the. Oh, we're not done it. No, other positions, a couple, offensive line. Oh, offensive. I'm sorry, I completely forgot. There's a good one we got coming here. Offensive line. Let's talk about that. We already addressed in the video the whole Jason Peters, Andre Dillard thing.
it's still a little bit of a mystery in my feeling is because you and I almost, as we've talked about it, are getting mixed signals, or maybe your people are saying one thing and mine are another.
I don't know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
This is I would just sum it up like this. It's just very quick. I mean, if Peters comes back, they clearly don't think Andre Dillard's ready. It can't be argued against because can you imagine a first-round pick who you trade up for sitting for 2 years? I mean, He's not ready.
No, but I also, you understand that Peters has a lot of pull. The owner loves him. Sometimes, as we've seen this offseason, you're not quite sure where the decision is exactly coming from.
Jeffrey, I would say this, talking to team sources, Jeffrey's bullish on getting younger. He's whether Peters and we know Jeffrey and Peters have a really interesting relationship. They're very close.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it's all about football.
Right.
And if they want Peters back, which, by the way, they've said publicly, and I'm told that he was both sides, the agent for Peters and the Eagles were supposed to meet this week.
Okay.
I think like Friday they were supposed to meet, something like that. But nevertheless, I mean, when the head coach comes out and says, "I really want him back," they're telling you. Jason's already gone on record saying, "I'm not coming back unless I'm starting." Well,
right.
They're giving you the answers to the test.
That part, I'm in total agreement with you.
Folks, you all know they've just told you what they're going to do here.
Right. I'll just say this. I asked the question to someone I really, really trust,
All right.
and the answer I got was, despite what we're talking about, the interest in Peters, there has not been what's the word I'm looking for? There has not been any discouragement from the team's end on Andre Dillard. So even though that's what it would be very normal to think, you're right. If you're starting Jason Peters and keeping this guy on the bench for a year or two, you would think that something's not right with Dillard. Now, obviously, they know Dillard has to improve. That's with anybody. He has to get
stronger. He's got to get stronger.
Of course, but I was told that they're not any down on him today.
Let's put it this way.
It's
all what Geoff Stoutland wants. If Geoff Stoutland says, we could use another year, Jason Peters is your starter at left tackle. I'm more to your side, what you had said on our previous show, where you said, it's Dillard. Just let Peters walk.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Cut the cord.
And just live with it.
Yep.
He's your left tackle. Dillard, he's got a full offseason to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 1 year on his belt. He knows the system. So another team told me, and I asked the team where their grade was on him. Another personnel director in Indy this week said that not even close. He was way better than Tyus Howard.
Yeah.
Elite feet, best athlete in the draft last year, right or left tackle.
Right.
They knew that he needed to get stronger physically. He said the thing is, he goes, they were in a basically a run and shoot offense in college, Mike Leach's offense, and you just got to understand that when you're in an offense where you're never in a 3-point stance. He was at Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
This is all new to him. It's foreign to him. So I get it, but man, get younger. Look, this offensive line, Geoff. Peters is 38. Kelsey's in his 30s. Brandon Brooks is in his 30s. Lane Johnson, I think, is 30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, Lane turns 30 in May. They have to have the NFL's all-this offensive line, right?
Yeah, I would think
Peters
so.
Is back.
Yes, if Peters is back.
So this is not. Howie says one thing, and we're going to see what happens in the draft if he actually keeps the picks, or if they're going to get younger. Because he said it.
He did,
and
you got to hold him to it.
You got to hold him to it. We're all going to hold him to it because don't say one thing, do another. But anyway, so that's my feeling. Oh,
and we got to look into this. I'll just bring it up because it's out there, and I don't think we've had an opportunity to really look hard into it yet. But I think yesterday, and again, we're recording this Saturday morning, right? So Friday, a couple of reports came out that Dillard's on the trading block. I guess that came out because Howie talked about Jason Peters. I haven't heard any.
So
of that.
my buddy Lance Erline, who does draft profiles for NFL.com, he's a radio host.
There's someone else who was promoting that report as well.
Okay,
but
Lance doesn't do a lot of reporting.
He's
a good rumor guy. I mean, he gets rumors here now, so he got something. Look, people talk. Someone for him to put that out there, he had to talk to someone at least secondhand who talked to someone with the Eagles, or he talked to someone with the Eagles and scouting directly.
Right.
I mean, it's not a secret Dillard did not have a good rookie season.
He didn't have a terrible rookie season. He played all right at left tackle. He was bad at right tackle.
No, we only played for half there. But the funny thing was, he went from struggling OTAs to really opening some eyes in training camp where you're like, oh my God, this kid's going to be special.
Right.
Preseason was decent, pretty good. Decent to pretty good. But you started to see, though, during the regular season, there were some plays where he just because he wasn't matching up his hands with footwork.
Right.
He just needs further development.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not the worst idea in the world to bring Peters back, but please stop talking about
you
want to get
realistically
younger.
see them trading Andre Dillard? No, I can't.
It's not like Howie to give up on a player
exactly
after 1 year.
Yeah, plus that's an admission that you screwed up a little bit.
But not just that, but it would be basically thinking. You know what it would be? Well, if they wind up trading him, there's something wrong. This is not just he's not there physically. There's clearly something wrong with the player.
Yeah.
Any position. If you're giving up a first-round pick after 1 year that you traded up for, clearly you found something that's alarming.
Right.
So we'll move on from that.
All right. So the only other guy really who has a free agent hovering around is Big V, and I think we've said for a while we don't expect him to be back.
Yeah, I'm told that he won't be back.
Okay.
Eagles want him back, but he doesn't want to. He's not going to be a great six. He could be a great six lineman for them. That's not what he wants. Talking to teams around the league, the belief is that he'll be a right tackle somewhere, starting right tackle. It's funny. I talked to Niner sources. They really liked him. In fact, they probably would have traded for him during
the 49ers
last year. But what happened is, remember when McGlinchey got hurt and Joe Staley got hurt.
Right.
But they went with these two unheralded kids, Justin Skoll and the kid who played in the AAF.
Yeah, I remember.
And they played well.
Yeah.
So that ended that. But the Big V is a great story, man. It's I didn't think it was going to happen because when he came into Philly, he was so heavy. And this is another Jeff Stoutland special. Mm-hmm. This is another guy that he discovered, and he played guard too.
Super Bowl champion left tackle right
left
there.
Left tackle, right. So he'll be playing elsewhere. So it's another one we've eliminated. Then Jordan Mailata. I do want to mention that he did not have surgery. I want to clear that up. He did not. They rehabbed it, and he's good. I'm told he's fine. Now, here's my question to you, Jeff, before we move on here. I can't imagine that he's going to be the swing tackle based on his injury history.
No.
Right?
No. No, they have to sign a veteran.
So
and maybe the guy doesn't make the team, but they have to sign.
They need to get a decent journeyman who's not 36 years old, someone who's in the late 20s, early 30s, who could come in and start if you need him to. I know Matt Pryor was a nice story when he got thrown in there. He's real raw. He's not ready to be that guy, I don't think. So they're going to have to sign at least one guy.
What do we have on quarterback? I mean, really, it's Nate Sudfeld, it's McCown.
Well,
we have to figure out.
Both are unsigned.
Right.
I believe that Kyle Lauletta and Wentz are the other ones under contract.
Kyle Lauletta.
Josh will not. I'm told Josh will not be fully rehabbed probably until June with his hamstring injury.
Boy, that kind of complicates how they kind of come up with their plan.
So you would think, based on the investments they've made with Nate Sudfeld through 3 seasons, they'd bring him back. Nate did not have a great offseason last year. He dropped off a little bit. Preseason wasn't great, and then he broke his wrist.
Right.
So look, there are a ton of quarterbacks out there.
We talked about this is a really good backup quarterback market.
It's incredible.
Case
I can't
Keenum
believe I'm saying
there.
this.
Colt McCoy is out there.
Yeah,
Chase Daniel. Everybody loves Chase Daniel.
Yeah, he won't be coming back.
I know.
I'm told they would they have interest in bringing Case Keenum back. They've tried before. But my sense is he's going to have other opportunities.
I would agree.
He might actually, not saying he's going to be able to compete for a starting job, but maybe he comes in there and competes. Whatever. I just don't see it happening. I'm told Matt Moore, by the way, Matt Moore, who
did a really nice job for the Chiefs this year.
Came off, he was coaching in high school, had to learn Andy Reid's offense in 1 week, then started and won on a Monday night. The kind of guys who would make sense for the Eagles. A.J. McCarron's out there, who's got good arm strength.
I think McCoy would make a little bit of sense.
Colt McCoy knows the West Coast
offense, yeah.
But now that Jay Gruden, who had a man crush on him, is gone.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota would be a great fit because he's an athlete.
Now, I can see them almost signing him, but
almost
as a reclamation project. What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of equate it to what they did with Michael Vick. But
no. That's
just as far as reclamation. I could see that. But you'd still almost need another backup quarterback while you're kind of grooming Mariota. No, I guess maybe you could
Mariota would be the backup. No,
he'd be your
there's
backup.
no grooming. He's the number 2. But
he wasn't as bad as I'm making it out.
No, but you're right. His issue, talking to Titan sources, was his footwork.
Right.
It got all out of whack. He needs to be in quarterback rehab. It's like if they had D. Filippo still here, he would get him back.
Yeah.
And D. Filippo's got his job with Trubisky.
Right.
But look, his protege, Press Taylor, he's got to do a better job of get if Sudfeld's back, he's got to get this confidence back. And don't forget, Rich Scangarello who's worked with young quarterbacks in his career. He's going to be a part of this.
Right.
We'll have names for it, but Geoff is absolutely right. They got to do something.
Glad you brought up the Bears in that regard. Just in that's another team that has money to spend and really needs to put some speed out there and weaponry for Mitchell Trubisky. Right? They've got some money and they need to give Mitchell some weapons. I mean, it's Allen Robinson and a bunch of
Well, they cut Taylor Gabriel. You're right. They're going to have to do something.
Right.
They're going to be in the market for it.
Yeah.
So
you could see them kind of chasing after a Brashad Perriman or a.
They got to do someone who could run.
Or
sure.
a Robbie Anderson. Yeah. Or even again, Demarcus Robinson.
I guess the rumors out there, by the way, on Austin Hooper. I think maybe one of the Chicago papers, I can't remember, said they've interested in Austin Hooper. Before we get out of here, the Eagles have won to, and I know they've exchanged proposals over the last 9 months with Ertz's agent. Well, what the thing is, though, first of all, you have to know what the new rules are. Number one,
right?
In the CBA,
new CBA, correct.
Number two, you got to see what George Kittle gets.
Right.
Kittle, I'm told, is probably getting up between $13 and $15 million a year. The problem with the tight end market, Geoff, is the contracts have not moved. It's been dead.
Very stale.
Jimmy Graham is the highest paid tight end, $10 million a year. It's a joke. The guy's touched 33.
I know.
And that deal's old. That's like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, Zach and his agent are sitting there waiting for those guys to sign their contracts.
Yeah, and Austin Hooper, ironically, Hooper's agent is Zach Ertz's
agent. Right.
So
was it on the video where I kind of talked about how JT Realmuto wanted to make a difference for catchers in arbitration? It wasn't just about him. What he said was, I'm going to arbitration fighting for the record. He wanted $12 million, which would have been a record. And he said, I'm fighting for catchers. I feel like what you're going to see with Kittle and Hooper, same thing about tight ends. They want the tight end market to be caught up to what it should be.
Yeah, I think, here's the thing. I think although Kittle's not a free agent, this is his last year.
Right. He's
right now known as the NFL's best tight end. All around, does everything. I think he's going to get a better job. Although Hooper's an unrestricted free agent. And I like Hooper. He's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah. It's not Zach Ertz, though.
No, but he's not as accomplished. Absolutely correct.
Correct.
But because Kittle and the man love that Kyle Shanahan has for him, Jack Beck, his agent, by the way, played at Texas A&I with Darryl Green.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Same school that John Randall went to.
Yeah. Isn't that where Strahan went to?
No. He went to Texas Southern, maybe.
Oh, right.
But
close.
Same state. Yeah. I believe that. We'll see. Who knows? I mean, maybe Hooper gets lucky and he gets 13 or 14 million a year, but I don't know that he get that much. But nevertheless, Hooper's going to get a great deal, and then Kittle, he's a number one priority for the Niners. He's going to get a monster deal. So you're absolutely right.
Right.
They're going to reset this market.
All right, let's go into some college kids here at the Combine, which is, again, I want our listeners to know we spend a lot of time more so on the pro side trying to figure out what happens in free agency, but we do ask around about some college kids. And specifically with the Eagles and how it pertains to them. Obviously, wide receiver. We talked about Ruggs. Hamler. KJ Hamler is a guy who he's really interesting, Adam, because he was described to me by one personnel man as kind of shy. They were talking about his interview that he's timid. And they said this.
Really?
Miles Sanders was like this, too. Penn State kids
I've never heard that about him. In fact, we had him on Sirius with us.
Really? Was he outgoing?
He was great.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. The first few minutes of the interview was described as kind of like quiet, shy, and then they said when they turned on the tape, it all came out. They really loved this team the team that talked to him loved how he broke down tape.
All right, so okay, we talked about Hamler in our last show, but I didn't talk about what I'm about to say. So,
okay,
I talked to a bunch of scouting sources on him, and two guys seem to say the same thing. I wouldn't call him a diva. He's going to express his opinion. He's got an attitude, a good attitude.
Hamler?
No, but he's talking to guys who've been in that school, guys who've scouted that school, scouting sources from around the NFL who've been in that school, so that he will definitely speak up, and he's got an edge to him. So had Carson Wentz still been here, this would not be a good match for Carson. Aaron Moorhead, good match for us.
By the way, I should say I've heard great things here about Aaron Moorhead.
I talked to a coach who worked with him at Vanderbilt. And said that I didn't even know this. Apparently, he was a coaching. He spent 1 year with the Colts.
Yeah.
That's probably where Frank Reich must have said. Maybe Frank Reich said something to him about it. So I don't know how the heck they found him.
Right.
But nevertheless, the stuff I heard Aaron Moorhead's really good. That he's a good disciplinarian. Because that room
needs it.
that needs and he's the kind of guy who could do it.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's interesting what you said about Hamler, based on what I had heard from the interview that he had with the team. But again, maybe it's kind of similar that when you put the tape on and he gets excited about football, he speaks his mind and he really breaks down tape well.
With his team at Penn State, he's a different guy. Now, I could see it in an interview. Mm-hmm. He's not sure who he's talking to. Yeah, I could see that.
Sure. Now, I've got a mixed opinion on CeeDee Lamb. He was a very polarizing guy. A lot of people love him. A lot of people think he's not wide receiver 3, assuming that Ruggs and Judy in some way are 1 and 2.
Yeah,
right. In fact, there are people who I spoke to who like Justin Jefferson from LSU, a little bit more than CeeDee Lamb. There are people who tell me they like CeeDee Lamb as much as any wide receiver in the draft. So I just want to put it out there that he's one of those guys that seemingly has a little bit of a mixed opinion about.
All right, so Denzel Mims also he had a great week. He is a guy that's got a ton of ability. He's 6'2.5".
Big kid.
Yeah. He's long.
Good catch radius. They like that.
Good. We had him on NFL radio. Nice kid. He helped himself. We're going to have our scouting report on Antonio Gibson, who really helped himself.
Yes, the running back from Memphis, right?
Who could play receiver or running back. We'll know more about him. Oh, Monty Rager's son?
Let's not be. Yeah, I was just about to say. Let's not get too down on Jalen Rager for what is it, the 4.5 40 that he ran, or 4.6 or something like that.
He ran the 4.5. So,
right, he's a little heavier than he played.
He's not fat. What happened is he put on too much bulk.
Right.
He's probably going to need to lose some weight in terms of mass.
Mm-hmm.
That may have had an issue while he was at 0.1 point whatever it was. His 40 wasn't as good, but he's a top 40 pick. It's a chance to go late first.
I
don't know that Eagles are going to take him at 21 because I need to find out more you and I need to find out how explosive he really is.
Well, I did ask about that.
Big.
And after the 40, I asked some guys, and the response I got was when the ball's in his hands, he's explosive. So, sometimes you let the tape dictate. Well, a lot of times, guys want the tape to dictate more than the 40 results. They just want the speed to match what they see on tape. But if it's based on tape alone, Hamler's still going to be late first, early second. Mm-hmm. I agree, top 40. I don't think the 40 time is going to damage him as much as some have said.
I'm told that an AFC South team timed him at 4.43 instead of whatever.
They
timed it. Teams have their
they do it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going to happen?
I think they do that just to keep themselves awake. By the way,
he'll wind up working as pro day anyway.
Uh-huh.
So I wouldn't read too much into it. What else you got there?
Antoine Winfield Jr., the safety out of Minnesota. Yeah. He's a really smart kid. I was at his interview when they brought him to the podium. Talked a lot about his dad. And what he learned from his dad, who played for the Bills and a bunch of teams.
And for the Vikings.
Right.
He's number 26, maybe?
Yes, I believe so.
I cannot believe. It seems like he just retired 5 years ago.
I can't believe his son is about to be in the NFL because I was watching him when he was at Ohio State, Adam, and I was at Penn State, right?
Yeah.
So now it's making me feel old. But the thing about him is he's not a great runner. And we talk about the Eagles needing young, dynamic safety who can run and play. But despite that, he did play the box, the post, and the slot at Minnesota. And I don't know if he's going to be top 30 or top 40. I don't know where he's at because he doesn't run great, and he's not the tallest kid in the world. But I think he's going to be the type of guy who might wind up being an overachiever. We'll see. We'll see where he goes. But I like his skill set, but he's not a first rounder by any stretch of the name.
This personnel director we talked to and mentioned he did have 2 injuries in his career.
Yeah, 2 injuries.
And you'd said that you told me off the air, you thought that's why he left?
Well, given that position, he's leaving early. If
he
had stayed in school and had another injury, 3 injuries is like a 3 strikes you're out type of thing. So he's got a chance right now to be, we'll see, with a second, third round pick. And, if he had one more injury, who knows what that would happen to him. So we talked about Winfield, talked about Hamler, Rager, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, Ruggs, Judy, Mims. I think that's, obviously there's a ton of kids here. We can talk about them all.
We'll do more of that, folks.
Right.
After free agency's over, it'll only be draft. When I say it's over, for March 20th, we're going to be talking mostly draft because free agency pretty much dies.
Right. There's still one day also left of workouts because we're doing this on Saturday. So there's the linebackers, I think. So I like to just get home for a few days, let the scouts go through their notes, and then call them up and ask them about how they thought these kids.
Post-draft. We'll get the official numbers, and we'll also have more scouting reports because, as Geoff just said, it'll be in the books by then. So
Awesome.
It's been a good week, man. I hope you enjoyed coming here. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was great, and
Glad you did. Glad you were able to fit it in.
I gotta tell the listeners, I appreciate you letting me crash with you. And
it's good, except for your snoring was great.
Living off you. Yeah, my snoring can be a little bit.
No, it's good. It's great. Loved hanging with you. It's the first time I think we've hung out at Combine as long as I've known you, right?
Probably, yeah. Like for an extended period of time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because people should know, like, we like to be out and,
so I don't really...
Not schmoozing with other reporters.
Yeah, I don't really... I'm always alone when I come to the Combine. I'm talking to personnel people, scouts,
right,
GMs, agents. This is what you do. But it might be the first time in 10 years I don't go to Steak and Shake. Because here's what happened,
Well,
Geoff.
I more than made up for you.
I heard, yeah, jerk. Why didn't you tell me that you went? Why didn't you ask me I could go? I'm mad
I wanted to be alone and wallow in my fatness.
But here's what happened. I don't really drink milk, being I'm mostly vegan, but I was dying for it last night. And I saw you walking back from the JW Marriott, and I got to have it. I forgot that their hours closed at 12, but they have an after hours walk-up booth, but it was 25 degrees. I'm not waiting out there for 15 minutes.
I'm not going to, I have to leave in a few minutes because I'm flying out today. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to confirm
by the way, what did you get?
Or deny that I may quickly have the cab stop at Steak and Shake before I get out of here.
I've never done that before.
I had the dark chocolate, Hershey dark chocolate shake.
I like the mint chocolate chip. Yeah.
Oh, man. It was bliss. So,
oh, you bastard.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, what we'll call the Empty the Notebook edition. That was fun. I think we went through basically everybody that we had info on.
We have more on the next show from
And yeah, I was going to say, this is just the beginning. Actually, yeah. We will have a lot more. So we want to thank our friends at 97.3 ESPN for all their help and support. Make sure you're downloading their app, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. You can listen all day long. Got great programming on 97.3 ESPN. Also want to thank our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. And I told you earlier in the podcast how great their content is. So make sure you head on over there, PHLSportsNation.com. Sports Talk with Broads on YouTube. That's our man, Hunter Brody. Make sure you're checking out his YouTube page, giving you the most passionate takes on all the Philadelphia sports. And please, please, please go to InsideTheBirds.com now. It's up. It's running. You're going to have content from myself, Adam, Andrew DeCecco, who writes up on these college. He's got an unbelievable eye.
He's really good.
He's really good at breaking down draft prospects. And I'm really excited to have him aboard at A DeCecco NFL on Twitter, at Caplan NFL for Adam, at Geoff Mosher NFL for me. Make sure you're checking us out. And please follow our Inside the Birds Twitter account at Inside Birds. All right, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free. That's right, you don't need a premium account. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. You can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are. You can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with social media platforms like Instagram. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. Just search for Inside the Birds on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, Geoff Mosher, so you never miss an episode of Inside the Birds. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to for podcasts too.